Okay, we are live. Sort of. Oops, I know what I forgot. Do that before it sounds off. So, nobody's shown up yet, but that's okay. I'll send off invites for the panel. If anybody wants to join in on the panel, the links are in the chat. Hey, Clover. Good to see you.
What's happening, Rick?
Glad you could join me.
Glad
Things are
to
a
be
bit
here.
slow at the moment. Nobody's showing up, but that's all right.
Yeah, you got all the rallies going on, all
Oh,
the
I
other
know, I
stuff.
know, I know. Oh, Night Strike's here. Hey, what more do I need? Night Strike and Clover. Hell,
Yeah, I might as well leave.
I mean, we got the star
Oh
lineup.
no! If Clover's here, I'll leave because apparently he hates me.
That's the
All right,
word on the street. Anyway, word on the street.
let me get this start. Let me get this shindig started anyway.
Get it
Welcome
done.
from behind enemy lines to Rick's Life as I See It, a 1 hour talk show about guns, politics, and anything else that crosses my mind. Also, I answer questions from the public, the listener. You can either put it in the chat or send it to me at rickslifeasiseeit@gmail.com, or my new and shorter version email address is spottedrick@gmail.com. Both of them will get to me. Also, within 24 hours of the show ending, it should be on Podbean, iTunes, and Stitcher for your audio listening pleasure. Plus, I am broadcasting on YouTube and gun channels at the same time. I think I got it all. There we go.
Wow, Rick, you're all over the place.
And on my panel, so far, I've got Night Strike and Clover Tech, who I appreciate showing up. There is a few more invites out there, but there's a lot going on this weekend with the rallies and stuff. And hey, Black Cat, how's it going? Good to see you. I got a couple of things to discuss today. I got my I was going to wait for a few more people to get in here to do my winner for the quiz I done, the mailing quiz for last week, where I was giving away a my last Clover Tech Productions poker chip, and I'm honored to have Clover on the panel today. So there we go. And let me see. Let me bring it. I'll do it anyway. So I mean, you don't have to be here to win it anyway. So where is my program? Here it is. My random result picker. Okay. Didn't I only had about? I mean, I don't know. I guess people don't like emailing in things. But I mean, because last week I only had 4. This week I got 4 again. So you got a good chance of winning. And I've let me hit my draw button. And the winner is Native Gun. There we go. That's what he's picked. So he's the winner. I think he won it a week and a half ago too, or one of my shows. Can't remember. I do so many now. I lose track of how often I'm on here nowadays, but I love it. But there we go. Native Gun is the winner of the mail-in thing, and the answer was, the question was, the British firm of Holland pioneered Magnum rifle cartridges. The first of these was introduced in 1912, and the answer was the 375 H&H Magnum. There you go. Was it rigged? Do you think so? I didn't see your email there, Black Cat. I didn't see under Black Cat or your old email either. So, you only got yourself to blame here. So, and I gave everybody to midnight Friday to get it in. So there you go. Actually, I did one of the 4, actually, he must have heard me talking about it Wednesday on my show on Wednesday, because Wednesday night I got an email from him with the answer to that. So either he listened to the whole show or he just fast forward to the last 5 minutes and got the question. There we go. Sorry you didn't win, Michael G, but thank you for entering. I don't have any. I don't have a competition this week because I'm out of cool gear to give away. I got some coming. Ghost Technical is sent me some poker chips and stuff, I think, to give away. So hopefully I'll have those for next week.
What, you're out of hit or miss stickers?
Yes.
Say it ain't so.
It is
for limited edition.
I'm out of hit or miss stickers. I'm out of poker chips. I didn't even save one for myself. I gave them all away. So, but I said, if anybody wants me to, anybody got any swag, they want to send it my way, just drop me an email. I'll send you my address. And what I normally do is I'll plug you during the show, like I did with Clover the last couple of weeks. Clover Tech Productions.
Maybe we can pick up some. There wasn't really a whole lot at Wanamaker, but maybe those of us going to NRA, maybe we can pick up a little extra and send to you.
Yeah, well, appreciate it. If you think about it, I know I'm sort of almost begging, but it's getting better. I mean, I've got some things in the pipeline where I'm going to get. I'm actually working on getting some patches. And I'm looking into that poker chip thing that you done. So it's, it's lining up all my finances, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I understand.
So once I get that done, unfortunately, I don't have a strong Patreon following yet, but it'll come. It'll come.
Speaking of those poker chips, I bought some magnets. What are they? Neodymiums or whatever they call them, the really strong ones. And was messing with that, and I had a couple of poker chips laying on my bench, and it sucked those magnets sucked one of those poker chips over to it.
Oh yeah, wow!
So there's something metallic in those poker chips, apparently.
Oh, that's good to know.
I never knew that. I thought they were plastic.
Ohio said I sent you a big box of swag. I ain't got it yet. But I'll keep my eyes peeled for it, Ohio. Anyway, first thing on my list here that I want to talk about, and I just shame. Mainly, maybe in you gun-friendly states, it's not so bad, but up here in the Northeast, I found that it seems that pro-gun people are ashamed to sort of like talk about it, that they like guns or they're into guns and they go shooting. They don't. It's not me. I'm talking about it all the time. I don't care who listens to me. And normally, what will happen? Somebody will, if they see I'm getting hammered, they don't. They won't say a word. But if it seems people are receptive, then somebody will come out and say, "Oh yeah, I shoot too." It's like they're ashamed to say that they're part of the Second Amendment or they into guns because they've been beaten down so hard up here, I think.
Now, if anyone shames you for owning guns, if they say you should feel awful, Rick, I'm sorry, but if anyone shames me for owning guns and liking shooting and target practice and whatnot, I can just tell them to go to hell. I don't fucking give a damn what they have to say, because I don't. And nobody should ever shame you for your hobbies. Period.
Yeah.
Because it's not their life.
Oh, I agree with you. I'm not arguing. I mean, I do. I mean, I don't let them shame me. I mean, I wear hats that have all this gun stuff on them. I wear T-shirts in the summertime with all my gun stuff on it. And I'm talking about it all the time. I'll get into lively discussions with people over it. I don't let them shame me. I said, I got nothing to be ashamed of. It's my right as an American, So, then you get into but I just wanted to mention that. That's the feeling I'm getting up here in the Northeast. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe it's just in my little corner of the state I live in. But it feels like nobody wants to admit that they're a gun owner. You know, it's like, oh no, that's bad. You know, we don't want to talk about it. Which I think is, I mean, I've been scouring away. I don't think we even had a rally for today here in Rhode Island, because I cannot find anything on the internet about it whatsoever. So you know, it's kind of like they want the guns here, but they don't want to fight for them, type thing. And that last thing we had at the state when they read all the bills that were introduced, it surprised the hell out of me how many people actually showed up. So the people are here, and it only took lots of let's see, there's a lady who actually I took lessons from. She's an instructor. Her name's Daria Bruno. She actually has a radio show on Sundays afternoons for 2 hours, and she's the one that keeps pumping these like for everybody to show up at the state capitol. And I think if it wasn't for her and her radio show, they wouldn't have got as many people up there as they did. So you know, kudos to her. You know, she's off. She took this month off. She'll be back the first Sunday in May, back with her show back on the air. So I always listen to her on Sunday. She's pretty good because it's local and national stuff. And she's been on. If you're ever watching I know people, the NRA TV. What's it called? First Shot, that has that Julia Goebel on it or whatever. How you pronounce the last name?
Colin.
Dario Bruno. If you go back to the first, I think it's the first or second season, she was on that. She was showing somebody how to shoot skeet and stuff like that. So, so she's even been on NRA TV. So she's a good instructor. That's what I mean. She's the one who taught me to, because when my left hand was all screwed up, because everybody knows I'm naturally left-handed. She's the one that taught me to shoot right-handed and hit the target. You know, so taught me how to.
Whoa, Rick can shoot right-handed and shoot the target.
Oh yeah. I can draw and shoot too right-handed. She taught me all that.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. And she's the one that done my and for my concealed carry permit, she's the one I done the test with. You know, the shooting 30 rounds at 25 yards. You know, so she's a good instructor. I recommend her to anybody. I think she teaches in Massachusetts and Rhode Island mainly. So but she's a keen hunter too. She likes hunting, but I'm not into that. Anyway, that's the shame thing I was going on about here, and mainly I wanted to talk about. The next thing I wanted to talk about, if anybody else got anything to say real quick, let's see. Hey, Grim, how you doing? This is just me too, because where I'm living, you know, I always feel like I'm on. It's depressing at times, to be honest with you. I feel the anti-gunners are winning. I really do. I mean, not only, I mean, they have. I mean, Bloomberg and his crowd and his money. They have more people on their payroll, even at state level now, doing the lobbying thing at every state capital in the country. Paid lobbyists. You know, they're even paying people to go to. I know here in Rhode Island, because I read about it just the other day. They're paying $15 an hour for you to be a anti-gun Mothers for Gun Safety or whatever supporter. You go sit up in the state capitol and they pay you $15 an hour to sit there. You know, they have the money, they have the advertisement behind them, and they're beating us. It might not be true what they're saying, but if they're getting the word out there more than we are, we're going to lose. Or am I missing it, Clover?
I mean, I think you're right. The problem is they're louder, but they're louder because it's manufactured. And you hit on that with the Bloombergs and hiring people and all of that. So, you know, we can't get too down. We've got to realize that the vast majority of their stuff is manufactured. They're they're paying for amplifiers is what they're doing. It's not a true, those voices, anti-gun voices that are out there. Most of them are on the dole. They don't really feel that way. But it goes back into the shame thing. And when you talk about shame, I see it from a standpoint of people feel ashamed, much in the same way that people take offense. It has, to me, it has nothing to do with what the other person is saying. If you feel shame, that's on you. That's something you've got to deal with. That's you've got to go back and reevaluate and say, hey, I'm not going to be ashamed of this no more, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just with the states that are quote unquote behind the enemy lines as well. I mean, I see it even in pro-second states. Not so much. I wouldn't necessarily call it shame, but it's a complacency, and just a lack of paying attention to anything. That gets me. They own their firearms. They shoot their firearms. For all intents and purposes, they fall on the pro second side of the spectrum, but you never hear a word from them, either because they don't feel the need to speak up. It's not their fight. It's not their problem, or they may be shamed. I don't know, or they're completely ignorant as to what is going on and the fact that they need to speak up, which is a problem. If we could get even 30-40% of the firearm owners in this country to actually stand up and have a unified voice and every day be posting pro Second Amendment, pro firearm lifestyle stuff on social media, we win. It's a blitzkrieg. We win hands down, and that's all it would take is that small of an amount. We don't need everybody. That's how anemic our side is with actually getting out there and portraying the lifestyle. And because what emboldens the opposite side is that that's not happening. So they feel like you feel, Rick. They feel like they are winning. They feel like they do have us outnumbered 10, 20 to 1, when in reality it's the other way around.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. That's what we need to do. We need to get out there. We need to portray ourselves, in a better light. I understand. I mean, don't take this the wrong way, Night Strike. The "I shall not be infringed," has its place, but at the moment, it's not working.
Well, I'm not arguing that point.
That needs to be that's a rallying cry. There's a point. There's a purpose for that. And but that's a rallying cry. That does not, the ones that are already, already on board. That's how you motivate that crowd.
Yes, yeah, but we need something different to get the people who aren't on board yet. The ones sitting on the fringe.
Yeah, the ones that are timid. I don't want to say scared, but those that are timid and shamed and all of that. Yelling. And I don't even say yelling. You don't even have to yell. You can have a conversation. But the whole shall not be infringed. That's an aggressive statement. And rightfully so. It's supposed to be. And you can't meet those that are timid or shamed or whatever the case may be. You can't meet those with aggression. It's just not going to work.
No, it's not. It's not. So, I hope these rallies do something. Especially if local TV picks them up. I know national TV won't.
Likely local TV won't. I don't know if you've seen it before, but I can't remember. They were talking about fake news or something. There's a YouTube video out there. I'll have to find it maybe and link it up somewhere. But there's a YouTube video out there somewhere that somebody put together, and it really shows how the major alphabet corporations are in control even at the local level to an extent. because they were talking about fake news, and I think it was a few years back when that was a big issue, and everybody was harping on the media, and everything that come out was fake news. And there was like this public service announcement that sort of went out across the country, and it was verbatim, word for word. And this video splices like, good Lord, I don't even know, Rick, like 20 or 30 different local TV stations together. And they basically, the big companies sent down their talking points. Is what they did in these stations verbatim. And it's the freakiest video you've ever seen, because you've got these different people, different news anchors from different portions of the country, all saying the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And when I seen that, and I just seen that here a few weeks ago, but when I seen that, my first thought was, even the small stations are in on it,
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, yeah. That's right. I mean, I guess that's where the outnumbered thing is, where they got a louder voice in us, because they've got the press on their side.
Yeah, and I don't know that I'm not gonna go out on the limb and say that the small companies, the small stations, I should say, they're just protecting what they're doing. They're being complicit because they're protecting their investment or their job or whatever. I think that's what it amounts to. I don't think that they're necessarily, because there were several stations on there that were from here in Texas, and I really don't think that the people there are anti Second Amendment, but to protect their job, they've got to toe that line.
Well, yes, you're right, and that brings me slightly into one of my other subjects I had here that's hit the thing, like Citibank and Bank of America. Now saying, if you've got anything to do with guns, like Bank of America, if you manufacture AR-15s or any parts to do with them, they're no longer going to do business with you. And Citibank,
they're also not going to lend either.
Yeah, same with Citibank. And I'm thinking, you goddamn hypocrites. When was it, back in 2008, we bailed your ass out of trouble?
Well, they don't care. They all they care about is immediate, and the situation is immediate and it's political. So, instead of being an institution where they're impartial and they just do one thing, which is handle money. Unless they do that, they have to play the politics game. So they want to play the politics game, they're going to crash and burn. Yeah. I'm sorry, but when you do something and you single out a certain group, people don't like seeing that. Even if they don't care about guns, they won't like seeing that a bank is singling out a certain group of people from doing business. And that's not the American way. The American way is to be all about capitalism.
The way that you the issue with the banks, Citibank, and don't think that hasn't been going on for a long time already, because it has, and don't think that it's just about AR-15s, because it's not. And like Night Strike mentioned, it's for all services for that bank, not just it's from the lending to the credit cards to but
even
potentially even personal bank accounts. But the point with that, I don't know. I forgot my point because I got off track there. But the
I do all the time.
Just saying that it's not. If I get my point, I'll come back to it. But it was just saying that it's not really anything new with them.
No.
Oh, I know what I was gonna say. What I was gonna say was that the banks have been tied in with government for a very, very long time now, and that creates a weird dynamic when you get into the issue of they start regulating things like that. They say, well, if you sell X, we can't service you, because there's a case to be made in a way with the amount of government regulation on the banking system, the amount of government oversight on the banking system, and the amount of taxpayer dollars that are in the banking system. There's a case to be made that the banks are government actors. And I don't know if anybody, I haven't ever done the research to see if anybody has ever, tried to bring forth any kind of suit or do something along those lines. But I think that's a potential possibility. And then I remembered my point. Thank goodness. Um, you know that it's completely political because who gives two craps, right? If when you go into a store, you get online to buy, and let's just say a scary AR-15 part, right? Or anybody is online searching. Do you really care who the bank is? They don't advertise that, hey, we get our lending from this bank, or so they're harping on something. It doesn't affect that bank in a negative way. You see what I'm saying? Because that information is not just plastered out there everywhere. That Citibank backs Daniel Defense or Spikes Tactical, or whoever, right?
Yeah.
So if it's not out there, how's it harming the bank? So, and if it's not harming the bank, then it's political.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. And they shouldn't be there. I agree. Well, where I was going with that is like you were saying about where I was going with this, like the big bank and the big corporate, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the local branch manager is anti-gun and doesn't want to see a gun in his building. Is that they got to toe the party line, basically.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, same scenario. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, some of them, I don't know. Some of them, it depends on where you live and what branch you're talking about. But yeah.
But
some of them are happy to toe that line. So.
Oh, absolutely. And to me, if I feel they are, I won't go there anymore. You know what I'm saying?
But I got away from, and it's kind of a pain. I mean, I had an issue even going to SHOT Show. The first night I got into Vegas, that was kind of a hairy issue. That thankfully, I was in a situation that I could ride it out until the next morning, which was Monday, and resolve it. But I deal with with the local state bank here primarily now, and that's one of the reasons I was with Capital One for quite a few years, with owning a business and everything. And I'm gonna tell you what, I took a risk at having to go out of business, honestly, trying to get away from that bank. That's how tied in and dependent you can become a lot of times on a bank. You've got to be really, really careful. And I'm sure that these manufacturers and stuff are the same way. And that's what's sad is they're tied into these banks so heavily. And then these banks change their policy and say, well, no, we can't do anything for you anymore, and then they're just sitting there blowing in the wind,
Yeah. Yeah. I can believe that, to get them tied in, and basically you're owing millions to this bank because you borrowed to expand your business or whatever, your manufacturing. All of a sudden, well, you're getting no more money from us, and you think, oh, I'm screwed,
or not have access to your money.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So who we got here joined us in the panel here? David.
Yes, sir.
Alaskan 556. How you doing?
Can y'all hear me?
Oh yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, all right. I wasn't for sure. I'm on my phone, so I'm doing pretty good. How are y'all?
We're good, unless you don't want us to hear you. In that case, we don't hear you.
Oh, nice try. I want you to hear me. Hey, Rick, I got those stickers. Thank you very much. I got some I'm making. As soon as I get them, I will send you a couple. All right, thanks again, Rick.
No problem. Anyway, I just want to say hello to Vanessa, Patriot, Rich. They just joined here. Vanessa said she just got back from the rally, and I believe that's in Connecticut because that's where she lives. She says there was about 1,500 people there. So that's good. See, there's more gun owners in Connecticut than people think there is.
Yeah.
So Patriot wants to know who the Clover guy is. He's a new guy in town. So there you go. Anyway, what else we're talking about? Talking about why we're on this sort of banks and anti-gunners and stuff is I was on a rant the other day on on Knives chat. I mean, I think it was Thursday. I think I was on my Thursday conspiracy theory. You know, is that this ain't the land of the home of the brave or the free anymore. We're all just towing the line. You know, and I'm saying they want us to be just like Europe. I mean, look at them. They have no guns. Now they're going after their knives. I mean, pretty soon, you know, people here are just, it feels like we just keep backing up, and eventually they're going to take the way things are going at state level is where we got to be careful. Not at federal, at state level. They're going to have their Second Amendment so tied up. They're going to say, well, we ain't touching the Second Amendment. But all it is going to be a couple of sentences on a piece of parchment paper. It's going to be tied up in so much legislation, we ain't going to be doing anything. And what then eventually when if the Democrats happen to get back in, right, they're going to decide, well, we're not going to have elections anymore. I'm going to be supreme leader from now on. And what you going to do about it? Attack us with broomsticks? We'll just shoot you with all the guns we just took from you. You know? That's how my mind's been working this week. But, I mean, I said like the UK going in the knife bans now. You know, they're thinking of banning knives like they do. What their stupid mayor say? There is no reason to carry a knife whatsoever.
That's ridiculous. That's what I don't understand. This is what I don't understand. If one of y'all can please explain it to me. Is, you know, when you have small cities like in Illinois, what's that, the Deerfield banning assault rifles. Now, doesn't somewhere in the Constitution it says that we're supposed to have equivalent to weapons that the military have? Is there somewhere in there? And how can they actually ban that rifle? I mean, it's not what the military has, I understand, but how can they actually ban it? You know, how can that get banned?
You're talking about Alaskan. You're talking about the Supreme Court law or a Supreme Court case. A man back in, I want to say it was the late 30s, early 40s, got pulled over, and he was a criminal. But basically, the cops caught him with a sawed-off shotgun. And basically, he got arrested for some other stuff, too. He was a criminal, you know. But he got caught with this sawed-off shotgun, and they charged him with it. Well, he got a good lawyer, and they took it all the way to the Supreme Court. And basically, when the Supreme Court ruled on it, they said, no, this is not protected by the Second Amendment because this is not a weapon of war. In other words, the military doesn't use sawed-off shotguns, so you're not protected by the Constitution, the Second Amendment. And they were ruled on that, meaning that if it would have been a BAR from that time period, or a M1 Garand, or a Thompson machine gun, he would have been legitimately able to possess it. So
that's where that comes from then, huh?
Yeah, that's where that comes from. Okay. And people draw on that as because when these anti-gunners start to believe that we should only be allowed to be armed with muskets, no, the Supreme Court has already ruled that the whole meaning behind the Constitution as far as the Second Amendment is concerned is to have the people two parts. That's why there's a comma in the Constitution in the Second Amendment. First part is referring to a militia, and that's a body of people that are organized to respond in need of a standing army, because back then we didn't have a standing army. So the second part has to do with the actual people having the freedom to keep and bear arms as necessary. And those arms are to be equal to what the military uses, because if you think about it, the Second Amendment was written in so that our government does not become tyrannical. What are we going to do if we're armed with muskets and they've got frickin' M4s? Absolutely nothing. So that is imperative part of the Constitution that we be armed just as well as our military combatants.
Yeah, I mean, but they've already taken machine guns away from us.
That was U.S. versus Miller, by the way.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Look it up.
Yeah, yeah. But I said we don't. I mean, the Army has machine guns, but we don't.
Yeah, but I mean, the bottom line is they took them because they were able to create hysteria about it back in the 80s.
That's just like what they're doing. That's just like what they're doing with the AR-15 now.
Yes, exactly.
So I have a question real quick. So now that Supreme Court case that y'all just talked about, now the people that own AR-15s in these states or cities that they're trying to ban, can't they bring that up and say, look, the Supreme Court has already decided, you know what I'm saying? Or
the government is very careful, and the anti-gunners are very careful. They push hard enough to get what they need done, but they don't push hard enough to make it go to the Supreme Court, because if it ever goes to the Supreme Court, they could basically tear down all the anti-gun laws that have been put up, because they can rule it unconstitutional. And then the people over in California, New York City, all these politicians are going to have to get rid of all that crap that they've been peddling. Yeah, so they're real careful not to run it all the way up the stream to the Supreme Court, because if they ever had to rule on it the way the Supreme Court is set up right now, pro-gun, Republican majority, you really are not going to get the ruling that you want. They try to use these other courts, like the 9th District, I believe it's called, out of California, and it's called the Kangaroo Court, because any type of gun control law you put up in front of them, they'll go ahead and pass it.
Yeah. Now,
and basically, they don't want it going to the Supreme Court.
If I remember correctly, Vanessa might be able to put me straight here. If I remember, since Sandy Hook, you cannot buy an AR-15 in the state of Connecticut, I don't believe. I think you were grandfathered in if you had one, but you can't. They've been outlawed or whatever since Sandy Hook. You know, and I think that's how they get away with it, because if you had one, you can keep it, but you can't buy any more. You know, from that date onwards.
Well, let's just hope that Trump can get at least one more Supreme Court nominee.
Yeah, and another thing that was not helping us is the Supreme Court has not taken a gun case since what was the last one? Heller?
Heller? Wasn't it Heller?
I believe it was. It was either Heller or McDonald. I can't remember which one came first. You know? So, I mean, and they keep passing them by. I mean, there is some heading that direction. I've been listening to. He's not specifying, but I always listen to what's his name talk. What's his name? Alan Gottlieb, who's in charge of the Second Amendment Foundation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. His foundation is the one that does 80% of the court cases around the country. You know, the NRA and the Guns of America might take credit, but it's his organization that's down on ground roots fighting the battles in the courtrooms.
Right.
You know,
they were the big ones in Colorado when they were trying to, and they got those people recalled.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I heard him the other night on the radio, and he said we got some heading towards the Supreme Court. He says I'm not going to say what they are, because just in case it doesn't make it. You know what I'm saying? But he said he got some going there, and he said hopefully they should pick one up.
You know, if they had the thing is, you're right. The SAF, GOA, those organizations actually do fight things in court. And, you know, the sad thing about it is if you had the money back in the law, which equals the lawyers, of course, and all of that, of the NRA that was actually willing to do that, we may see a lot more rollback, or we could see a lot more rollback. And that's what's sad, and that's why a lot of people for a long time have been upset at the NRA. Is the NRA does things in smoky rooms in the background, and then in out in public they do just enough that way they can do their PR and advertising.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like that thing in what we just mentioned earlier in Deerfield, where they're the NRA said they're they're taking them to court. I mean,
Yeah,
the Second Amendment was the one. Foundation was the one who filed the lawsuit.
Yeah.
But
I got a question. I like y'all's comments on about the NRA real quick. I personally have no problem with the NRA. I think it's better to have them than not. But with the whole bump stock thing, my thing is, from what I understand, is the NRA suggested not approving a ban, but sending it back to the ATF, knowing that the ATF already said they're legal and there's nothing the government can do about it. So I don't understand how that's anti-Second Amendment or
my beef with the NRA really has nothing to do with bump stock. I had beef long before that.
No, Clark, I'm not just talking about you. I was just wondering about that issue that I heard people talking about.
And a lot of people out here, I'm not anti-NRA as well. I'm anti-ILA, but and we got to be careful not to dump the two together. But,
yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people do. When they say the NRA, they're actually talking about the government side of it.
Yeah, I'm talking. I'm
talking
always
about
talking
Rick Cox.
And
the other mental midget, Wayne LaPierre. Both those two guys are horrible.
And those guys are actually, for the NRA that a lot of us grew up with, a lot of us are used to, for the education, the training, the safety, the awareness, all of that.
Eddie Eagle.
Eddie Eagle, exactly. LaPierre and his cronies for years have basically robbed and hurt that side of the NRA for the sake of the ILA. That's just another thing to add to the long list that ticks me off. But the NRA will do, and they've done this, I mean, ever since the 70s, particularly done it with the Hughes Amendment back in 86, to where they told Reagan, a lot of people put things on Reagan and they say, well, Reagan's supposed to be this ultra conservative, but look, we got the Hughes Amendment with FOPA and all this, blah, blah, blah. And what they don't realize is the NRA went to Reagan and they said, okay, you've got a Democrat Congress here. And, we understand that you're kind of put in a box and all of this. You go ahead. We brokered this deal right here. And you go ahead and you sign this because this won't stand. We're going to take this to the Supreme Court. With a stroke of the pen, you're killing an entire industry, a sector of an industry. And that won't stand in the Supreme Court. It can't. So you go ahead and sign it. We'll fight it in the Supreme Court because presidents don't have line item vetoes, right? They said, you go ahead and sign it. We'll go to the Supreme Court and we'll get this stripped out. Well, Reagan, okay, it's the NRA. They're in it for me. I trust them because they're fighting for our Second Amendment rights.
And Reagan was a cowboy.
And he signs it. And then the NRA goes, psych. The NRA is yet to bring that before the Supreme Court.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Should we be, on a side note, should we be fighting to give the president line item vetoes? You know what I'm saying?
I think so. I think it'd be a good thing.
I do too. I do too on that. But this,
Rick.
I think with what's going on in the country, especially with Second Amendment issues, to us, because we're in it, it seems a big, big deal. But is it in the big scope of things? That's what I'm wondering.
No, it's not a huge. If you was to rank the most important, what are we thinking? What is my wording for that? I don't know. Most important problems, most important issues that affect the vote or something. I guess. No, the Second Amendment is not. It's in the top 5, but it's definitely not number 1. I don't know that it'd be in the top 3. To be honest.
Jobs, taxes.
Yeah. Economical stuff leads the way, without a doubt.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. But you know what I'm saying? But so we need, I think with all these little things going on in these little states and these little like Deerfield and all this other kind of stuff, I think the Supreme Court's got to pick up something to make another statement like the Heller case. Because some people were, take was it New Jersey? Was it just New Jersey or was it Maryland? One of those banned something, quoting Heller and totally reading it out of text. And they need the Supreme Court needs to jerk them back and say, no, that isn't what it says. Yeah. I can't remember the exact. I read it just the other day, and it's I meant to write. It's not on my notepad. That's what's pissing me off.
Well, and a lot of people, there's a lot of sentiment, and they go, well, the Supreme Court, they won't hear this and they won't hear that, and why don't we take this to the Supreme Court and do that? And there's a lot of people out there, not all people, admittedly, but there's a lot of people out there that they do not understand how the court systems work. There's a process to it, and certain things have to be in play. You have to have conflicting decisions at lower courts and a lot of different things in order for the Supreme Court to take it over.
Yeah, there's got to be two conflicting arguments at the state level Supreme Court or something.
Yeah, at the district level.
Yeah. But talking about that, but did you read that? Which is not helping our cause any, is concealed carry and all this, and watching out for defense. About that boy in Chicago, that 14-year-old, missed his bus or something, and he knocked on the neighbor's door to find out the best way to get to his school, and the man pulled a gun out and took a shot at him.
Wow. Okay.
Now, I feel that the family who done the shooting were prejudiced because the young man was an African American. He looked older than 14, but he was only 14. And she yelled when he knocked on the door. She yelled out to him, "What do those people want?" And it's only one guy. You know what I'm saying? "Are you trying to rob me?" She yelled out. The next thing you know, her son, who lived there, he's in his 50s, comes, opens the door. The kid does a running down the road, and the guy takes a shot at him with a shotgun. He's being arrested for attempted murder now. Wow. I was reading that today.
I don't know.
Well, did he actually hit the kid with the shotgun?
No.
No.
Well, why is he being charged with attempted murder? I would charge him with assault with a deadly weapon.
They're getting him for that too. They're throwing the book at him, everything they can.
Yeah, they usually pile it on when they do stuff like that.
They throw everything, hoping that something sticks.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Chicago. You know what I'm saying?
That seems a little extreme way to deal with someone answering your door. I don't care if you're racist or not. I just don't.
Well, and then
shooting at somebody,
shooting at somebody running away.
Yeah, that's no threat.
I mean, one of our things is we want to keep weapons for self-defense, and this is a good thing the anti-gunners will use. Well, this is what happens when you have a gun in your house.
Right.
You start shooting at people.
You think you can just do whatever.
It's not helping us any. And I know it's one incident, and I happen to catch it on one of these non-political websites I go to. I happen to catch it. But if the main media get hold of that, they're going to spin it the other way.
Oh, yeah. And go ahead, Clover. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that as far as the main media, I don't know, because if it was a shotgun, that doesn't fit the narrative. And we've already learned now from the YouTube thing, and then also the Maryland thing, that if it doesn't fit the narrative, they don't talk about it.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right there. Grandman says self-defense requires self-discipline. Absolutely, I agree with there.
And also, they, Steven Crowder, Louder with Crowder.
Yeah.
He went to a couple different universities in the state of Texas where Clover lives. And he went to this one university that was less than 40 miles away from where that guy went into the church, shot up the place, and an NRA instructor like Clover grabbed his AR-15 and a couple magazines and were loading them on the way across the street to the church.
Yeah.
And ended up shooting the guy, and he had body armor on, and they gave chase to him. Less than 40 miles from where this big school is. They had never heard of it. They had never heard of this guy that had saved countless lives that day with an AR-15. And basically, he was basically putting forth that the mainstream media picks and chooses what they want to cover. As long as it fits to their agenda, they'll give it the publicity. It'll go all the way across the United States in a matter of minutes. But if it doesn't completely fit their agenda, where they can use that, then they really don't report on it.
No, you're right. You're right. And that's what Clover was mentioning that earlier in the show before you joined the same thing. You're right. I mean, good example. I don't know if Vanessa read it. I was reading. I'm trying to think where I caught it at. I think it was on Fox News website. I was because I don't get it on TV anymore. One of the representatives from Connecticut has already told everybody in the state, sent down pointers what to say this weekend. He says, but he sent it out Friday about what to say about the bombing in Syria. What he feels either Sessions or is going to be removed, or something to do with the Mueller, something to do with that. And he listed out these same points for everybody is on the same page. When it comes to the news media, that's what we need to do on a pro second side. When something good happens, it needs to be pushed out there to everybody, so we can all talk about it and all say it. But it doesn't seem to work.
The problem is, Rick, that unfortunately a lot of the news we've mentioned it earlier, but a lot of the news and media outlets in the country are owned and are told what to say. They don't report on news that actually happens anymore. They just report on whatever, whoever is, holding the string above them.
Yeah,
right. Agreed. But there's a reason Zuckerberg had to testify in front of Congress, and that's because social media is it. Social media outweighs any of those media organizations. They get more by pushing their stories to social media than they do airing them on television every night. And social media is something we can take advantage of.
Yeah. Now, I mean, overall, how did that, in your opinion, how did that turn out, in front of Congress?
I saw him get grilled pretty good because, what was it? Ted Cruz was going after him for them, quote unquote, silencing. Conservatives. Yeah, he didn't say they were silencing conservatives, but but that's what he meant.
Yeah, but of course Zuckerman denied it.
Well, yeah, the hearing was over the data breach.
Yes,
that's what the hearing was over, and then it became a dog and pony show and a circus over multiple issues, both from the left and the right. So I'm not sure in the grand scheme of everything, being that the hearing itself was over the dealing with the data breach. I don't know that anything changes. But Zuckerberg now knows that there are people watching, that he is on the radar, that and more importantly was a few slip ups that he had. He made the statement on more than one occasion about Facebook being responsible for content and being a publisher. And that could get into some very sticky stuff, open some lawsuits, and actually forge some ground that could be in our favor.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need something in our favor.
So it wasn't anything that necessarily that the senators said or did or anything that went on in the hearing. It was Zuckerberg himself saying some things that possibly could have opened some doors.
Yeah, you're right. I think what else might help us too is I mean, I'm not sad to see Ryan leaving the house.
Oh God, I know, right?
He's the Rhino anyway. You know.
Question
I'll
is,
be honest with you.
Who are they
going to replace him with?
Exactly. I'm scared the Liberals going to get in there.
Well, what I'm hoping for is they put what's his name in there, the guy who got shot in the baseball.
Oh heck yeah!
Oh yeah. As Speaker of the House, yeah.
Yeah, he's the whip now. So I mean,
he's a good one.
Well, I know that there's a congressman from here in Texas, Louis Gohmert, and he's on the news channels pretty often. He's fairly popular in those circles. And
I like him too.
They wanted to push him back when Ryan was getting it, and he would not step up, unfortunately. And I lost a little bit of respect for Gohmert, as much as I like him when he didn't. But he was sort of playing that political game and wouldn't step up and take the nomination or whatever it was. Maybe this time he will. And between having Gohmert on that side, and I'm not going to rah-rah Texas here because we have our problems, but with Gohmert on the House side and then Cruz potentially on the Senate side, maybe some things will actually start getting done.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm hoping for. And I got a feeling we're going to lose some seats in the House, but I still think we're going to keep majority, the Republicans.
I hope so. I'm afraid Ryan's seat's going to go Democrat. I mean, y'all have to be honest. The Liberals have them.
It can't go Democrat.
It can't?
No. The Speaker of the House is the party that.
No. I'm talking about in November when that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about. Yeah, because I mean, the Liberals, they have the momentum right now. I think. I mean, I don't know why the economy's doing good. Everything's going pretty decently.
And that's why I don't think that's true.
About the momentum.
A lot of people rode Trump's coattails this last election. A lot of Republicans rode the coattails of Trump, and I don't think with them having control and economical, I'm going to say economical perception is what I'm going to say, because I know the economy can be different in different places, but Trump won by in large part for his economical statements on the economy, basically, and by flipping states in the Rust Belt. And I think that as long as economically we're okay, I perceive them holding, because just like we talked about earlier, everybody's got their own pet peeves, when it comes to why they vote. And the vast majority of those people that are in the swing states, economy is that issue.
That's right. I mean, he's giving them more money through their taxes, tax returns. He's creating jobs. And that's what they were looking for.
And it hasn't gone into effect yet, but the mandate is gone as far as Obamacare is concerned.
Oh, absolutely.
That doesn't take effect until 2019, unfortunately, for people this year. But that's gone. So that'll be shortly after the elections. I wish we would have pushed it through and that been an issue this year, not just to help people out this year, but so that it actually would happen before elections in November.
Yeah, it would have been nice. It would have been nice, but I guess we can't have everything. But
Rick.
Anyway, let's see. My hour's almost up, guys. Wow.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
I just wanted to drop a note. I heard when I first tuned in, Clover was talking about banks.
Yeah.
And my wife is a manager of a Wells Fargo bank. So I just wanted to let people know, if you run a law-abiding business, no matter what it is in, they will accept you and treat you with respect at Wells Fargo, no matter what state you're in. They have an open door policy that they push on their management team, that you cannot discriminate against anyone, no matter what the business is, no matter what the color of their skin, their race, their religion, or anything. So gun businesses are some of her biggest customers here in St. Petersburg.
Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know. I mean, but say I don't know, who controls, some big people start putting pressure on them, or will they cave?
From what I understand, the founding people of Wells Fargo were the people that ran the Pony, the Pony Express, the Wells Fargo cash carrying deal.
They were the stagecoaches.
Yes, the stagecoaches, and basically they're prominent. Even their logo to this day with the stagecoach has a guy carrying a double barrel shotgun.
Yeah.
So
that's what is referred to as a coach gun.
Yes, a coach gun, and basically they were one of the few people who ran money from bank to bank and from post office to post office, carrying gold bullion back during the cowboy days, and basically they've kept that as part of their tradition. So if you're a legal tax-paying citizen and you own a legal business, you're an FFL, you're a gun shop or a range or somebody that deals in merchandise that is outdoor related or gun related, you will have no problems getting an account and holding an account and having no issues with Wells Fargo Bank. They just got targeted by Moms Demand Action and a couple of the other ones, and they stood their ground. They told them, nope, until the government tells us it's against the law to help these people with their financial endeavors, we're going to stick to the law and to the Constitution. You guys, we're not getting political.
Well, that's the way it should be. I tell you another one who's talking about that real quick before we close up is it sounds kind of funny, but that company that makes the pillows, My Pillow, he's a Second Amendment guy, and they told him to stop supporting 2A things because he gives money to like the Armed American Radio and some other stuff up there in Minnesota where he's at. He's a big 2A supporter, and they're telling him, stop supporting these people or else. He goes, no. So you can't tell me who I can give my money to and who I can't. So, he's hanging in there with us. I just thought that, the little guy doing his thing, So.
Hey, I have a question for Nice Strike real quick. I was listening to Ellis's chat last night, and somebody brought up that, Nice Strike, somebody brought up that you shut down GunTube. Is that true? Did you hear that? No, I'm dead. I'm serious.
I know you're serious, and I got a text message from Ellis about that. Apparently, the assholes, and I'm going to use that word loosely, that were trying to steal the name GunTube from me, they're shutting down.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Nope. I have not gotten an email or anything from anybody saying that. Asking me if I was shutting down. And I have not said I was shutting down. Now, granted, unless you hear me say GunTube is shutting down, then don't fucking come to me asking if it's shutting down, because it's not.
Roger and out there. We got you there. So, it's too good to go. I'm going to call it quits. Yeah. And I thank everybody for showing up. Sorry there was no quiz this week. But the winner of last week's quiz was Native Gun. I don't know if he's here or not, but he won it. I will email him and let him know. I think that's about it. By the looks of it, I don't know if he's still live, but Ghost Tactical went live from the rally he's at. So, no, it's not Vanessa. He is not shutting down his GunTube thing he's working on. So there we go. Anyway, I want to say thank you guys for showing up, for being here. Be back again on Wednesday night. Same time, same channel, same people. So, anyway, thank you all for being here. And thanks,
Rick.
Does the panel want to say anything before I close it down? Alaskan.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Who's talking?
Go ahead.
I just want to let everybody know I'm a dealer of Velocity triggers now. And I wanted everybody to check these out for the AR-15. The owner of Velocity Triggers is actually the brother of the owner of Timney Triggers. And I'm going to be going to Velocity Triggers here real soon with Dead Horse doing a show and tell on how they make their triggers and assemble them and go through all of that. But these are just two that they offer. This one is a straight trigger with a small curve to keep your finger from coming off the end of it. And this is a traditional curved. And both of these are clearly 4-pound triggers right here. They're labeled 4-pound. And they are as smooth as glass, and they're a lot cheaper than a Timney trigger. Normal price on these is around $138.
All right.
Thank you, Sir Rick, for having me on.
No problem. I appreciate you showing. Right, Alaskan, you got anything?
No, I just want to thank you, Rick. First time I've been on a live chat, and I'm like 3 subs short from 100. And as soon as I get to 100, I'm gonna give away 5 AR-15P mags. So, thank you, everybody. And
there you go. So support an Alaskan. There you go.
That's right.
Hey, the name of your channel is Alaska.
Yeah, Alaska 556. I'm not very creative, so.
That's all right.
Thank you.
All right. You got anything to say, Clover?
Rick's life is awesome. So, you know, if you're out there, if you haven't sub, make sure you like, share, all that good stuff. Thank you for having me, Rick.
I appreciate you coming here. You make a hell of a co-host. Thank you. All right, Night Strike, the man, the legend.
I am appalled that there are more people out there watching that there are thumbs up on this video. Everyone that's out there watching, thumbs up this video. Rick needs more thumbs up. And guntube.org, we're still online, assholes.
All right, see you, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye, Rick.